when my son Mason was diagnosed with T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia in 2019. I could not go to work. I had to be able to take care of him. So we had no money coming in, and we ended up on a Medicaid plan. And I legit don't know what we would have done had we not had Medicaid.
Without Medicaid, we probably would not have my son with us here today.
I was out of work from the pandemic, like a lot of people, and I became very deathly ill. But because of Medicaid, I lived.
I had a full-time job, but then I had a son who was diagnosed with leukemia. Every mother wants to be with their child when they're sick. So, long story short, I ran out of leave. I had to start paying into my premium out of pocket. Hard decisions were coming fast and furious towards us. Do we pay for healthcare? Do we pay for my son's medications? Or do we pay for rent? Do we pay to leave the lights on? Medicaid was there for us. And Medicaid is there for so many families just like mine.
About 2 years ago, I had to stop working because of my cancer. And I lost my health insurance. But Medicaid was my lifeline. It saved my life.
This is real. This affects real people. Please, please, keep Medicaid as a part of an access program for people like me. And like my boy Mason.
This event, our speakers from the amazing Leukemia Lymphoma Society, one of the best and greatest pillars of our community when it comes to supporting leukemia patients locally. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause.
Take your time, Richard. You know I like a little bit of the floor myself. My name is Mary Dougherty. I became a blood cancer widow 13 and a half years ago. Shouldn't have been like that. Jim was the healthiest guy I knew, but he got a crappy diagnosis, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Oh, you can survive that. 2011, there was no cure for double hit, double mutation, and in his memory, I said, I gotta do something in his memory and with my energy. Now, I happen to be a lawyer right here in Norristown. I could walk to my office, and I've been a mouthpiece for a lot of things. And now, I'm a mouthpiece for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and I'm really proud of it. Now, Richard has a fascinating story. What I've been hearing, this is one of the letters that we put out. This is a letter we co-signed. But you might say, I have blood cancer. Well, do you know someone with diabetes, kidney failure, lung problems, arthritis, asthma, neurology, Crohn's disease? We all work on this together, and I'm proud to say that Leukemia Lymphoma has been a leader in advocacy. I'm going to tell you this now, and I'm going to tell you this later. You can sign up to be an advocate. You can do one of two things. Either you text, speak to I'm 70 something. It took me a while to I'm texting speak to 5 letters. Yeah, that's what it is. But there's also a QR code. So before you leave, get your cell phone and text, speak, or sign up for the emails, because you have a Medicaid story and you have a blood cancer story. Because I think you love PD. Am I right? I do it for the love of Jim. You're doing it for the love of him, and maybe for the love of my man here, Rich Armstrong, who has filled my heart with so much hope and care and love for a man that I've known for 1 year. Because when I started doing work in leukemia and lymphoma, I said, what am I going to do? My patient died. Guess what? I'm doing it for the patients that I learned deserve to live, like my man Rich. Rich, come tell your story.
Thank you for the applause. Great evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, but I'm also sad to be here. And so, a few weeks ago, I was advocating on Capitol Hill and meeting with some of these representatives, and I literally told them that it's disgusting that I have to be here, that I have to actually plead to not have healthcare funding cut and have research funding cut. And unfortunately, this is where we are. And so, again, my name is Rich Armstrong. About May 2021, I was out of work, height of the pandemic, and bad things happened. Lost my job, office closed, and the worst thing happened was I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And so, I'm going to make this pretty quick, but multiple myeloma, I'm sort of in the same boat with PDs. You know, it's an incurable blood cancer, but it's a very treatable cancer if you get the right treatment. And so I'm going to make this short, but I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. And so the first thing is go to the doctor every year and get your annual blood work. All right? I did not do that for 8 years, and it literally almost cost me my life. So I'm going to just give you a quick, fun medical fact. So the quick, fun medical fact is, so there's something called light chains, and it has to do with proteins in the human body. And so a normal, healthy human being, absent infection, your light chains are between 3 and 19. When I was diagnosed in May of 2021, my light chains were over 43,000. I was in acute kidney failure, and I was literally circling the drain. The only thing that saved my life, well, 2 things that saved my life. The first thing was to have great treatment from the University of Pennsylvania, and tell anyone, if you have multiple myeloma and blood cancer, go to a specialist. Don't play around, go to a specialist. And the other thing that saved my life was I was fortunate to have access to Medicaid. And I needed it. I was out of work. And so this is a very personal battle for me because literally I'm like PD. You know, my life depends on research funding. My life depends on Medicaid and Medicare. That's where I am. But I want everyone to remember this. And so you have to advocate for yourself. We can ask people to do things for us, but we have to do things for ourselves. And one of the things that I realized, even just, you know, with this whole issue about funding, is literally Steve Scalise, who was the ex-Speaker of the House, he has the same disease that I have, multiple myeloma, and he's voting to cut research funding. I don't understand that. And so when I say, do the things that you can do for you, because sometimes we don't even do the things that we can do for ourselves. And so what you can do for yourself, you can raise your voice. Even if you think that Medicaid cuts won't hurt you, even if you think, oh, I'm good, I'm okay, guess what? The lack of Medicaid funding is going to make our hospitals continue to go away. And so we're losing hospitals. And I told my representatives, I said, this is America. How are we losing hospitals and not building hospitals? But again, we need everyone to make our representatives accountable. And unfortunately, we're in a cycle where, you know, representatives, instead of saying, well, hey, you know, we're going to create jobs and we're going to build hospitals, they're making every excuse as to why they're cutting jobs and closing hospitals. The only thing that we can do, and again, it is raise your voice, advocate for yourself, do the things that you can do, starting with making your health as good as it can be, getting your blood work done. You know, if you do the things that you can do and control the things that you can do, up to and including raising your voice and making the people who are not being good to you be accountable with your votes and raising your voice. Great advocacy tools there, great advocacy tools here. Everyone, I ask you, if you don't do anything else, get your annual physicals with blood work and go on, raise your voice. Do that for not just PD, do that not just for me, not just for Mary, do it for yourself. Because at some point, you're going to need it. You're going to need to go to the hospital, and hopefully the hospital is there. And hopefully you won't have to go 300 miles to find a hospital. And that's where we are. And so, like I said, I can't even believe at a point. You know what to do. Raise your voice. Be good to yourself.
A couple things, Sherry, you were amazing. Some of the things you said, like you could be teaching my people as I teach them about advocating. One thing that's scary, when you sign up to be an advocate, they ask your address. Whoa, is LLS hunting us down? No, LLS is doing the work for you. LLS is going to take your address, and they send me, I've gotten 3 notices this week. Mary, we have a letter addressed to your senator. We have a letter addressed to your representative. And they know my representative because they know my address. So when LLS gets that information, it gives you the power. Because I'm sorry, if I gotta go on the internet and find out the phone number for my legislator, shoot me, it ain't gonna happen. But when I get that text message, and then they say, we give you a standard letter, I always change it. I say, I am a cancer widow, or my daughter is on Penny. My loved one needs this now. My niece is having a baby with Medicaid. So you personalize it, and you say, you gotta listen to me, because you are the one who's gonna vote for that person. So don't be afraid of sharing your address. And number 2, when it's time to make a call, you say, oh, Rich is calling, Mary's calling, PD's calling. No. What we've learned is legislators don't react until they get at least 10 calls or 20 calls. So don't think that you don't make a difference. You do. You may call because you love PD or you love Sherry, but your voice is just as important as the next one. So when you do the call to action, if you sign up by email, you gotta watch your email. If you sign up by text, you gotta watch your text. This man is a text man. If I send him an email, he might get it in 3 or 4 days, but by text, whoo, I get response no matter where, and he blesses me and makes me smile. So don't be shy. Let's have some hope. And guess what? If that bill sneaks through this year, we're gonna fight it again next year. Because when they write the rules, we're gonna keep fighting. I can give you lots of stories, it'll bore you to tears, but I am excited to see people caring, and I'm gonna make sure PD meets all of our senators and our representatives, because they have to hear his voice. The personal story is very important. So thank you, Sherry, thank you, PD, and I think I'm done.
That's a great point. And I just want to finish up in saying this really quickly. And so we are going to definitely keep fighting. I'm not going to shame anyone, but I will say, if you leave here and you do not raise your voice, you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror, because again, this is going to continue to be revisited. And you have some people, like I said, Steve Scalise, you know, this guy has the same incurable cancer that I have and is voting against it. And so I don't see him being any different than any of us that know that we need to advocate for what's right and what's better. So don't even make it complicated. Raise your voice. However you can say it, raise your voice. We need to make sure that we have funding. And it's not just for PD, it's not just for me, it's for you. So that these hospitals are there, so that everything, all of the resources that we deserve as people are there. We can do it, and we have to keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't.